Hello, lovelies, and welcome to Launch Day, War of Prophecies. Yeah, this is the temporary cover. I've not gotten the print with the actual cover that I picked on it. The image I used for that is, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I used a very, very beautiful image that I had of, that I got off of Pixabay, and it is it's a galaxy image. And what I'm doing with that is I am actually going to be putting it up. There we go. Putting this image up on and because it's a very long image, I'm able to slide the image back and forth as I'm putting the captions on it. So what's happening is as you have the books sitting on the shelf, you will see from about right here to about right here of the image. And this part will actually be the image facing outward with this title on it. So you'll get this center part of the picture actually facing the room on the bookshelf once the books are put out. So that is very, very interesting. We have a lot of people here, so I'm going to scroll back in the chat. Banner, doink. Let's see. Jenna was first, popping some popcorn. RC Scott showed up. Hello, lovely. Liz is here. Coffee. It is I completely forgot my book launch day would be on the time change day, and it is early for us in the Western time zones. Margaret came in. Hello, lovely. Sam is here. I wrenched almost everybody. Yes, many books. Yes, many books. Can you be more specific? You really like the one with the ghost and the cats. Thank you. The ghost with cats has a very, very pretty cover. Okay. So I told everyone to start the series, to start the stream, we need to be sure to get all of the indie authors, everyone's books shared. So I have wrenched everyone that I know that has a book I wrenched. Here is Sam's Kindavella Mist that you can go and get on. Here is RC Scott's books to read. Margaret, yes, Margaret was being very silly. RC is also streaming later today, 1 Central and 8. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you. I have been working very hard. Here is Jenna's Kickstarter. So it will be going until the 23rd. So this is her YouTube playlist about her Kickstarter. Scrolling. Double Midnight feature. Hold on a minute. Hold on 1 second. I am trying to grab a link. Why am I not pulling this up? I know. I know I have this. I know I have this somewhere. I know I have the link to Margaret's book. I know I do. I know I do. I can't find it. I can't find it. Why can't I find it? Okay, well. All right. I think that one out. I think that one will work. There we go. Okay. That should take you to a link to get to Margaret's books. Where am I? What am I doing? I don't know anything. All the books. Yes, all of Margaret's books. There, right there. All of Margaret's books. Oh, look, there's Margaret's little shop thing. Okay. So we have books for Margaret. No, RC, no. It's me derailing the stream because I haven't been streaming. I don't know if you know, I've been down with like a cycling migraine for like 6 weeks. And it has completely sucked. And so I am brain damaged. I am new medication. I am blah today, which is why I have a co-host today. Liz is here.
Hey, sorry about that. Of course, darling had to cause problems 20 minutes before.
Of course. Well, it didn't help that I sent you the link for Tuesday's stream, which is 4 a.m. your time and 5 a.m. my time. Only now it feels like 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. because time change.
I know. How did you handle it this morning?
I was okay. Got up. I was fine. And then the dogs are like, "What are you doing up? Can we go out? Can we come in? Can we go out? Can we come in?" And I'm like, really?
I know. Yeah, my family did not seem to be affected at all. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, what's wrong with you?
I was like, I thought this was ending this year. Isn't this supposed to be the last year? Can't we?
I thought it was supposed to be ending too. I was hoping so.
Yeah. So
it would be great to me if we could just if we could gain an hour in November and just never have to pay it back and just like gain an hour every November.
Yeah.
Would that really be so bad?
See, I like standard time better because I don't care about it being dark in the morning.
Yeah.
When I'm doing stuff, I'd rather it be dark like in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And standard time fits my biological clock better. And it fits my critters better. They like standard time better. But daylight savings time is fine too. Just pick one. That's all I care about. Pick one.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Hey, everybody.
Margaret, it just keeps getting shorter and shorter. Blame the Senate. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Hello, Esther. Welcome to the stream. Happy book launch day. Yes, thank you very much. Esther, do you have a book out? My brain is blanking. I do not know that. Do you have a book out? Do I need to wrench you so you can share your book link? Let me run over here very quickly. Settings. Hold on. Why is it? Why do you hate me?
Oh, look at everybody here. That's awesome.
It does not want to find Esther. I do not know why it does not want to find Esther.
It's probably not something I can do, right?
No, I have to do it.
Inca.
Okay, I think what I'm going to have to do is actually copy Esther out of the chat because she has because she has special characters. Did I find her? Yes. Okay, so everyone I think is wrenched. So if you have a book, share your book. Please share your book. Inca. Does Inca have a wrench? Where's Inca? I'm just like throwing all these up here. No, don't go there. Don't go there. I don't want you to go there. I'm just completely like, I'm supposed to be launching my book today, but I'm like, no, you get a wrench, and you get a wrench, and you get a wrench.
Okay, she's going to put out a holiday romance. Ooh, under a pen name. Always exciting. How's everything going with your son off at school, Inca? I don't think I've asked you that in a while. Oh, good. Okay, Sam just put the Esther's Vela up. Is it a secret pen name, Esther? She's like,
okay,
yes, it's a pen name.
I'm not pulling up Inca. I keep pulling up Inca the Yorkie.
Inca York, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad he's doing good. Okay. Yeah, I have it pulled up so I can see the chat like in a different, from Streamer, like in a different window, and they're like slightly behind each other. And it's like,
yeah, there is a slight lag between the two of them.
There we go. Inca the Yorkie.
It's not pulling up Inca's channel. Can someone share Inca's book link? I cannot make it share. I cannot do this. It is not letting me do this.
So here's her Vela. Is that what we're talking about? Or we're talking about?
Yes.
A different. Okay. Yeah. Sam did already. It's up here.
Okay. There's
her Vela's on there.
Yes. Share. Everybody, please share your book, because I'm starting this tag on Twitter and Instagram called Indie Reads 23, where I'm trying to get all of us indie authors to just like tag us and share, because we need all the authoring sharing that we can get, because it's trying to get a foothold as indie authors is extremely difficult. And
use all the help we can get.
We really do. And you know, the trad publishing houses, and now Amazon is making it harder on indie authors.
Oh no, what's Amazon doing now? I'm so afraid of offending Amazon and getting randomly kicked out.
Smaller indie authors are like getting shuttled off of list, to where like trying to find them, like if you like Google them, like I was telling someone about Dulce Margaret's book, and they couldn't find it, like at all.
Why would they?
And so I ended up having to go to one of Margaret's streams and grabbing the link off there and then sending it through Facebook to her. Yeah, she likes historical fictions and all fantasies and stuff. So I was trying to get the book, and I couldn't find the book because it was just like, it was so frustrating.
That is frustrating.
And one of my own cousin tried to Google one of my books and could not find me on Kindle.
That's no good. I remember like when I had like the first thing I ever uploaded, I had like a version, and then I like, you know, kind of like updated it, and then it took a while but I wasn't sure if it was just because it was what I was searching and my laptop was used to me using that link, but it would go to like the old link, you know what I mean? Like and it was a different link. It wasn't like, does that make sense? Like when I updated it, the new version didn't correspond with the initial link or something, so it would say this cannot be found, and it frustrated me. I don't see it anymore though, so I don't know if that was, I don't know, maybe they go through those periodically and get rid of them or something. I hope.
I don't know. It's I don't know. It's just, it's really hard as indie authors to like get any traction at all. And I mean, we all know the stuff with the trad publishing houses, the Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it 3 now? We don't know. It's just so hard for like people that aren't writing to market to like get anywhere, that it's just like we got to hang out and support each other, because that
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotta throw each other a bone.
Margaret says, that's weird. That one is still in production though, through Amazon. So I'm good. Esther says, I tend to follow the author page on Amazon so I can find them quicker.
It's a good idea.
Sam says, it's way easier to find people if you follow the author page. It really is. I have a gazillion bookmarks. Yeah. So many bookmarks. Esther says it's 4. Margaret says it's 5. Yeah, the merger hasn't been approved, but who knows? It's just crazy. The trad pub world is crazy, and we as indie authors, we gotta hang tough together. We gotta share together. And okay, what were we doing today?
It was like, I don't know. You wrote a book or something?
I read a book. Yeah, I read a book.
It's an exciting day.
Yeah, this is book 2 of my my big like 1.3 million word series. And yeah, I'm trying to get all of the books out. Kitty says hello.
Hey,
All hail the feline overlords. Yes, yes, thank you. Yeah, it's so in the first book, Relic of Time and Prophecies, we kind of get into the story of how Ezra and Davin met Karstien the Immortal and ended up kind of tossed around in time a little bit. First they went back, and then they went forward at the wrong time and ended up in the wrong future, and saw what would happen if Damien won the war. And so then they spent a couple of months trying to get back to the past. And now War of Prophecy starts with their return to the distant past. So they've got to make sure that Karstien wins the war this time, because they really don't want Damien's kingdom to happen.
Now, I don't think anybody wants Damien's kingdom to happen.
Yeah.
I thought his backstory was just so like, it was, I really, really enjoyed not picking up on like when reading the first one, I really enjoyed kind of hearing about that after hearing about the boys, ending up with the dinosaurs on the island. It was really fun to like when watch him kind of like a history of him and Karstien after that. I don't know, it was really cool to watch it that way. And I'm a sucker for a good villain, and he's a good one. He's got a good slow build there.
Yeah, it's the way the book starts is you start off in modern times, and then while Davin and Ezra are going back on the time machine, you jump back to Karstien and Damien's childhood, and you watch Damien progressing down this path. And it's all part of the prophecy that if a son of Adamos falls into shadow, war will come. And you see the first war, and you see Damien like starting to lose what his family is going in its shadow. And then when you get to the end of the first book and you see when you jump back from the right before the second war into the future to see what Damien has become, I think that's really the terrifying part, is you see someone who is starting to be really, really an evil person, and then you see the end of his evil.
Yeah.
And Ezra and Davin are like, we have to stop this no matter. No, we don't care if we get back to our own time afterwards, but we have to stop this. So that's a big deal. And then War of Prophecy starts, and the War of Prophecy kind of starts in a scary place because they're coming back, and the Relic of Time vanishes, and they land in the ocean, and they don't know where they are. They don't know where Karstien is. They don't know where Damien is. They're just back in the past on a beach.
They're always getting thrust somewhere they either didn't get the right information for, and they don't know where they are.
Yep.
They're very adaptable. Probably the most important, like, skill, I guess, or talent there is. What made you, what like inspired you to start the series to begin with?
Okay, so when I had my stroke, I lost all my language skills. And one of the things that my occupational therapist had me doing was writing stories. And my kids were following this YouTube role play. It was a Jurassic Craft modded Minecraft. And the creators were using it as a animation engine. Hello, Laura. Welcome.
Hey, Laura.
They were using it as an animation engine. Hello, Heather. Welcome.
Heather. Everybody coming in on a Sunday. I love it.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Wait, so I can hear okay.
Yeah, everyone's coming in. And so but they were using Minecraft, this modded Minecraft, as an animation engine and doing a playthrough. And so one of the creators, he writes and he does like he did a music parody. And in one of the videos, and now when I released the first book, you heard me and my daughter talking about how she's obsessed with a baby brother. She was always obsessed with getting a baby brother. And so there was this little boy in the book, or in the video, that wasn't in the Minecraft series. It was just this little boy, and you just saw a few minutes of him running through the city with an iron golem, which is kind of like a protector. And my daughter was like, who is that? And so we started writing a story, and that was actually the bulk of War of Prophecies. The War of Prophecies part about okay, spoiler, it's Karstien's son, was about that, started with that little boy. And it was just this like 30,000 word fan fiction. And then after about a year, the YouTube creators that were working together, they had creative differences. They went their separate ways. And we knew them because we were part of their fandom, but we also were talking back and forth with them about the books. Because at this point we had 3 books created. And they were like, yeah, fine, go ahead and keep the books. Just kind of take us out of it. So we had to go through and like pull the characters out and do a new character profile and rename them and things like that. So we basically rebuilt the characters, and then we rebuilt the story after the characters. And that just led to this whole other world that became the entire thing, because then we were bringing in Karstien's father and his grandfather and this other scientist. And, of course, then Damien's going to have his minions. So we had to bring in Damien's minions, and we end up with the assassin Darcy, which you get a little hint of at the very end of War of Prophecies. You see Damien's children, because as Damien is moving through time, he keeps trying to rebuild his empire. And it keeps crashing and burning, and he tries again, and he keeps trying again. And in modern times, he's discovered that if he raises children to be loyal to him, it's much easier to keep his empire under control. So he has spent generations building basically a corporate empire and like an underworld criminal empire in the modern world, so that now that Karstien in the future is awake again, he's in this place where pretty much Ezra and Davin were his only allies in the past, and now they're his only allies in the future. And so, Davin and Ezra are like, when they eventually get back to Karstien, all they can do, Ezra, is plan B. We need to be prepared because we know he's here somewhere.
Right. Do you I really also loved the I guess the juxtaposition maybe of like the two. It's like two different brothers, and two are actual blood brothers, and trying to kill each other, and then the other two brothers are one is a foster brother. So it's kind of, I think that's cool that the two foster brothers will kind of do anything for each other, and they're devoted, and they're in it till the end kind of thing, and the other two are not.
Yeah.
They were, but they're not anymore.
Yeah,
so I just think that's such a cool.
Yeah, once Damien gets the seed of shadow in him, the twin semi-immortal brothers, they literally spend the next 12 books trying to kill each other.
That's right, they're twins. I forgot they were twins.
Yeah, they're twins. They are
the brotheriest of brothers.
Yeah, but then you have Ezra and Davin, who Davin's family takes Ezra in after his mother dies, and you kind of find out, and you start finding out in the beginning that something is up with Ezra's dad. And then as the book progresses, you find out that, the reason Ezra is so good at the survivalist thing and the soldier thing is because basically his father has like paranoid PTSD to the point of being abusive. So he basically raised Ezra to be a soldier after he himself was a prisoner of war. And so Ezra has found after his mother dies of cancer, he finds this loving, supporting family in Davin's family. And it's so much so that Davin's parents adopt Ezra after his mother dies. And so that you have this found family trope that is going on, and it shows how much stronger they are as a family unit, as foster brothers, than the actual brothers are.
Yeah.
And I do like that you can find a family versus your actual family. And the brothers, the biological brothers who are enemies actually recurs several times during the whole series. It actually recurs multiple times, whereas the families that have found each other are the stronger families.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name?
Well, they're immortals. They're semi-immortals. You can partially kill them and they'll come back. It hurts for days when they come back, but they will revive once you kill them. And there's
so much
genetically revived dinosaurs, and there's magic, but magic is just energy to be manipulated. And I don't know if you know what Clarke's third law is, but Clarke's third law states that technology sufficiently advanced appears as magic. And Davin and Ezra in the first book, they start off with they think they're in like this swords and dinosaurs world, and they think they're on the technology side of Clarke's third law. But as the book series progresses, they begin to think, okay, maybe we're on the primitive side of Clarke's third law, because they ask Karstien, they're like, that's not magic, it's technology. And Karstien's like, what's the difference? But no, yes, we did a lot of biological research on things that animals that can heal themselves and what is it about them that makes them heal themselves. And like there's some animals that they will release an enzyme into their blood to make their blood gel around a wound. It's more than a clotting mechanism. It's actually stronger than human platelet clotting. And that's what the Etherians do. When they're wounded, their blood will gel so they don't bleed out. And they will actually like drop into like a death-like state while their stem cells repair them. So
cool. That would be amazing. What about I don't know what this says about me, but I'm always like the ones I kept like thinking about so much were is it Kali or Callie?
Kali.
Okay. What was kind of like your inspiration or whatever for her? I just thought her story was so interesting with her relationship with her. I mean, in the first book anyway, with her relationship with her mother and how she affected Damien's future so dramatically. I was just kind of wondering if kind of where you drew that from for her, because she was kind of important.
Well, it was
informing him.
Yeah, what my thought was Kali is so Kali of the House of Loki Balru is the one who introduces Damien to blood magic. And the whole purpose of her was, every good fairy tale needs that dark queen influence. And so I thought, well, what if the queen is a child? Her mother failed to seduce Damien and Karstien's father, and so it has fallen to the next generation to lure a son of Adamos away from the light. And so Kali takes that role, and she's basically been groomed for this her whole life. And she and her mother, they do not have a good relationship, and her mother's a Karen, if there ever was one. And so Kali just...
You're talking about Morgana?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought a little bad for Morgana because it seems like she actually did a good job until oh gosh, it's gone out of my head. Whoever it was like comes up and he's like, "You're being bewitched, this isn't real," and fixes like the spell or whatever she has over
yeah,
the dad.
Yeah, Kayla's future self actually comes back and stops his younger self from leaving with Kali.
Oh, it's his future self. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
It was his future self. But no, so she failed to get Kayla to leave the light. And so she has a daughter, and they plan for Kali to lure either Karstien or Damien, and she gets to Damien. And she starts him on the path of using blood magic and gives him a book to teach him about dark magic.
Mm-hmm.
And she is thinking that, yeah, I'm going to be the queen. I'm going to be this queen. I'm going to be the Lady of Adamos. And she does not realize that the destiny is not going to be hers. And in book 3, you get to see what happens to Kali.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Yes, book 3 will go into what happens after they stole Damien's sarcophagus from the Western Kingdom. You'll get to see what happens to Kali, because Kali spends 1,000 years looking for Damien.
She's I like Kali. She's dedicated.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. It was such a cool idea to have when when Morgana when it doesn't work out for Morgana, to pull the dad over to the dark side. I thought it was so cool that she's like, well, I'll have Kali do it, and she does it in his formative years, like he's like 80 or something, right? But that's
he's the equivalent. Yeah, they age about a decade to year as they're growing up as children, and then when they hit 200, they basically stop aging.
Okay.
You know, and then then it slows down to about a year. It slows down to about a decade per 1,000 years is how they age after they hit 200.
God, it'd be so
So
amazing to do this, to age like this. We could do
yeah,
everything.
so they grow up much slower than normal humans. Now, if you're yeah, Karstien and Damien grow up a little faster than pureblood Etherians. And Karstien's son actually grows up much faster than Karstien did because he's half human. But it's very interesting to watch because, you know, he's just like, you know, this 8-9-year-old little kid, and he meets this little girl, and she's like, oh yeah, and I can do this thing, let me show you how to do it, you know. And kids, you know, they're like, I can do a trick, and they're like, oh, I want to do a trick too. And that's what happens with children growing up, and they don't necessarily perceive good or evil in it. You know, Kali teaches him how to make roses eat butterflies, and he just thinks, oh, that's fun, let's
I
do
know.
that.
His mom's like, no, it's not. It's really not.
You know,
I know,
but
I feel
it's
so
like,
bad for his mom.
yeah, but it's like, it's like, let's throw rocks at this abandoned house and break the windows. Okay. Then the sheriff
I
shows up.
know.
Here's your child. They've been vandalized. What? We were
Yeah.
just throwing rocks. Yeah. And
It's so smart because it's like she's so good at like she doesn't only heap praise on him. She's also kind of like, you know, I forget how she says it, but she's like, you know, I don't do that kind of silly magic. I do real magic. I do cool stuff. But she also tells him he can be so great and amazing. And I don't know. It was so crafty to me the way she just like manipulated him in this really specific way to make him want to be like her and pull away from, you know, having to compete with his brother and his brother being so good and, you know, honest and true, and kind of isn't.
Yeah.
Do you think with characters like that, do you think that, I guess it's sort of like a nature and nurture question. It always fascinates me. Like if for example if Kali had tried it with cars, do you think it would have worked? Or did it have to be Damien?
The thing is Damien had this inherent insecurity because he didn't have as not much warrior magic as his brother did. He didn't have some of the skills his brother had. He was like his mother from the beginning. He was a healer. He had the ability to manipulate healing energy and soul energy. And he didn't have like the same kind of magic starting to manifest as his brother did. So I don't think it would have worked with Karstien the same way that it worked with Damien, because in the battle with the coastal invaders, when you're watching their childhood and you see that battle against the coastal invaders, afterwards, Karstien is really, when his father scolds him for killing them, Karstien really feels bad about it, and Damien just doesn't at all.
Yeah.
He's like, they were invading our territory. They deserve to die.
Yeah, we can't look weak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't tough for him.
Yeah, and you begin to see this how, and especially from Kali's influence, how he begins to look down on the humans around him because they're just humans. And they are, in his mind, they have the same value as the butterflies. Just, just something, something to die, something for his amusement. And you see this pattern repeated over and over. And like in the second half of War of Prophecies, when you hit the second part of the book where you're following Damien forward through time and the different lives that he lives, and you see some of the lives that he lives, and later when he encounters, I think it's in book 5, when he and one of the other characters are talking, she says, you were a general, you were a leader, you were a good person. Why go back to the conqueror? And he
Mm-hmm.
says, I tried to live my brother's life. It was a lot of work and I kept getting betrayed and there was no point. The only thing that matters is power. And so Damien, because he became corrupted at such a young age and it was such a slow transition up until the point that they were attacked by the shadow entity,
Mm-hmm.
you see him drifting, and you really begin to wonder, could they have ever saved Damien? Could they have
Yeah.
stopped him from going into the darkness?
Yeah. That's totally kind of where I kept going back to, and I guess, um, like I kind of immediately think like, oh, that's not like the right response. Like if my mom were reading this, she would be like, well, that Damien's a bad egg, you know. She, and I always feel a little weird because I'm like, yeah, but it's not totally his fault because he felt, weird about this, and Kali was so messy, and he could maybe be whatever, kind of like the, do you like Thor, do you like Loki, kind of like that, which is
Mm-hmm.
which is a cool inference because there's totally a Loki in here. Morgana's husband is a Loki, but the but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is kind of that Thor Loki dynamic between
yeah,
Karstien and Damien is Damien could be the good ruler. And Karstien admits, the reason that he takes Damien prisoner after the First War instead of just killing him is because he's hoping there's a cure. He thinks Damien is sick somehow, and
yeah,
that the elder presbyts can find a way to heal his mind so that he can have his brother back.
yeah. Like, I mean, their father was essentially, you know, what do you call it? I want to say bejeweled. What do you call it when there's a spell on you?
Bewitched.
You're Thank you, bewitched. And then he snapped out of it after he drank the stuff or whatever. So I don't know. I probably never told him that, but when you're reading it, you're like, it's possible that he could like, snap too or something. And you kind of know he won't, but maybe, especially when there's time hopping and stuff. I'm like, I don't, but maybe it could work out.
Yeah.
It's a long series. It could work out. So I always think that's interesting how, for some reason, that possibility is so like appealing to some readers, and then other readers are like, still enjoy it, but for totally different reasons because they're just like, no, like the good guy has to win. This guy is bad. That's it, and they just
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
outsmart him somehow. He's
There's
bad
a
and he's
lot.
smart. We have to get rid of him.
Yeah, there's a lot of gray in here, and like
Mm-hmm.
when Damien lives the life as Caesar, he's a good person. He really tries to be a good and noble person and make everything better. And he loves his wife before her death. And he loves his daughter and his foster mother above all. And you see that Damien still has that potential. And it just starts creeping further and further away as the shadows start creeping back into his world and into his awareness. And then by the time you get into where what if um Mary Shelley's A Modern Prometheus was like more biographical than we know, and she was writing this book after meeting Damien, and Damien was Dr. Stein von Franks, and he was trying to figure out the secret of his own immortality because he didn't know that he was an alien. He looks like everyone around him, but
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't age, and when he dies he comes back. And you could imagine like thinking you were the very last Atlantean alive, and Just you want to find out the secret of your immortality because you're tired of being alone.
Yeah.
Hello. We've had Eva come in. We've had Rachel come in. We've had Shannon come in. Hello, lovelies. Thank you for coming to my book launch. So you see the potential. Damien, all the way up to the point to the end of book 2, you see that he has this potential to go back and be a good person, to make the choice to go back and be a good person, and he just chooses not to.
Yeah.
He just
like repeatedly.
He keeps choosing the path of power over the path of peace.
Yeah. It would be fun if you ever did I mean, I know you're still doing, you're going to have, like you said, like 10?
Yeah, there's going to be, there's like 14 books.
14? Awesome. Oh man, I love a good long series. It's
It is a very long series, and there's the 4-book Huntsman of Adamos prequel, which actually happens. The Huntsman of the whole books 2, 3, and 4 of the Huntsman of Adamos prequel actually happen during the middle of book 13 of the Shadow Hunt. And it's all the way after the end of the war. So if you read the Huntsman of Adamos prequel, in the timeline, those books happen first. But because we're dealing with time travel, 2 of the characters from the distant future actually hop back to the past, because one of the things that's going on through this whole thing is the shadow servants, they're trying to win the war, and they don't. So there's groups of them that have gone back into the distant past, because if they can change the past, they can change the outcome of the war. And it's Adamos says those who control time control destiny. They control fate. They control what will happen to the entirety of the universe. And the whole long story is basically this war between 2 groups time traveling to try to win.
Can't go wrong with time.
So, but since Damien is his story is just moving in one direction through, and Karstien is just moving in one direction. The only time Karstien does any time traveling at all is in book 3, and that's because being twice will kill you.
Because now what hang on.
Being twice in the timeline.
Oh, right, like when they're right. They start to hurt. And then I remember. Okay. Yeah, well that makes sense. And I was glad to see that, because I'm like, whenever if that weren't the case, then I don't know. I feel like people would just be all over the place. Out, you know what I mean? If there's no like forbidden, then it would just be a mess. Like no one would ever stop.
And so being a semi-immortal, you have to go like a ways to find a place in time where you're not. But the other question that comes up kind of in the background of the first 2 books is, why are there dinosaurs and humans alive together? And how did Karstien end up in modern times if he was in the age of the dinosaurs? And this is a question that starts getting answered later in books 3 and 4.
That's a really good point.
It gets asked in book 3, and then in book 4 it gets answered. But the thing is if the range of the Relic of Time is only 50 or 60,000 years, what happened to our Earth equivalent planet that 65 million years have passed?
Yeah.
So, and where did the rest of the Atlanteans go? because we
It's
know
amazing.
there's a city of them, but there's only the House of Adamos in the Western Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So
who knows? That's the awesome thing about time travel is you can totally answer this later anytime you want to. I've thought about that with writing stuff. Sometimes I'm like, what hole have I not, like with a series, what hole in book 1 have I not found yet?
yeah.
Like when while writing book 4, am I going to be like, oh my gosh, I did not realize that, yada, 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 yada. And how am I going to fix that? Which is kind of the great thing about being, with stuff being an ebook is you can totally go back and change it if you really have, to. But now you don't even have to do that. You can time travel it. I haven't found any holes in it though.
Well, the nice thing is because I already have the bulk of the series drafted, I can go back and weave things through, like on different character story arcs and side characters and stuff. And if I have a side character that I need to create, that like there was one character I needed to create in a later book that I was actually able to go back and put her all the way back in book 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you see this character starting to appear like 4 books before I actually really started utilizing her. So I went all the way back, but that's because I have the whole series basically written, and like the technology and stuff, I can go back and I can put it further back, I can, because that's one thing that always got me, like when you need a technology to appear in a series, and you're like 3 or 4 books in, just poof, suddenly there's this thing. No explanation about how it was created, what it was, or anything. Is just, oh, suddenly we can do this.
Yeah.
And like that's something that drives me crazy about Star Trek. Is they're so bad about just the magic technology just suddenly appearing. And
my husband said that about, who's the character on Star Trek who I've only recently learned about Star Trek through him, so I'm still like in stage 1 and I really like it, but there's one character who he was watching in Picard recently, and I don't know the character's name, but he was in a bunch of other Star Trek stuff, and he basically pops up and he has it seems like he has unlimited powers to just
Q.
sort of that's it.
Is it Q? Yeah.
And Josh was like, this character drives me crazy because he can do anything, and it just kind of makes everything seem almost anything they do just kind of like their efforts are fruitless because Q can do anything, and then he just decides to do whatever and it works out, and he's like, he has a hard time with that.
It's very I really, really want to avoid that. Like in our book, like my Atlanteans have the ability to basically focus energy like through their bodies, like through mentally focus energy, and they call it magic because it manifests. But one of the things they talk about is if you're drawing magic or you using magic, it uses part of the energy of your life force in your body. So if you overuse your magic, you could potentially die. And there's times when like a character will be will use their own energy to do something, and they'll just collapse afterwards. One character will literally say, okay, I'm going to faint now, and then she'll just literally be like, okay, now I'm going to faint, and she flops. And it's like, you can't just have there's not like one of the things that drove me crazy with the Harry Potter series was you were given these rules of magic, and by book 3 and 4, the rules went away, and suddenly the rules changed. There were no rules. And so even though there's one character who when she's learning to master her magic, they've ordered that she not be taught the rules of magic because they don't want to limit her, but so she manipulates the magic in her own way. Okay. Oh, sorry. Here's the minion. Minion's going to a movie.
Oh, what movie?
What movie?
Cocaine Bear.
They're gonna go see something called Cocaine Bear.
Oh my! I've heard it's really funny.
Yeah.
Love you, Mama.
Love you. So, but you know, I want, you know, there's still the side effects of being using your magic ineffectively, and
Oh my God, Maggie, she's so beautiful.
she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. Yeah, she's been offered hair modeling contracts and stuff like that because she's got it like all the way like past her butt. But yeah, she's like not interested in that Instagram girl life.
Oh wow.
Which makes me happy.
Yeah. That's awesome. Be totally beautiful and just be like, I'm not really into it. That's an awesome what's a bifecta? Not a trifecta. But that's just cool, I think.
Yeah, the character is designed to be frustrating to the audience. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Okay. Well, that makes sense then, because it works.
Yeah.
The engineer is just like, oh no, Q's here. This episode's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think John Delancey does a really good job of playing the character, playing this over the top character. But yeah, it's like there was one time when like he changed the gravitational coefficient of a moon.
Yeah.
Like they were trying were trying to stop this moon from falling out of orbit onto this planet, and so they were going and it didn't work, so he's like, okay, I'll just change the gravitational coefficient of the universe. And I'm like, do you know what kind of problems that would cause?
I know it's kind of like in some I can't think of one right now, but sometimes especially if it's sort of a bigger budget action thing, the engineer will say this. He's like, you know, I know they probably feel they have to go bigger with, you know, with effects and money and everything nowadays. But it's also difficult when they do that and they unearth, you know, some mummified villain. He comes out with just 95,000 different ways that he can kill people terribly. And all of a sudden at the end, they defeat him in some like minor way. And you're like, okay, so nothing could kill him. But now, like, you know, I don't know.
He dies
they stabbed him in the shin and he's like, my shin splits, and he dies or something. He's like, they've built him up so much that he can't be killed, and then he's randomly killed. Anyway, I think that's how he feels about Q, because it's kind of, like you said, if you can change the gravitational
coefficient of the universe,
then you probably can't stop him. So why? So I don't know, honestly, like, wouldn't that be really depressing to have that much power? Because then, like, what's the point of anything? I mean, you could.
Yeah, well, see, that's something that I really was careful about, is that there are everything has limits to their power, and everything has a weakness. And even the devouring entity, which is considered the deity of the shadows, that is this incredibly powerful being, it has weakness and it has limits. And it's about figuring out all of the different, you know, where the weaknesses are. And it's like, because I have built-in limits in all of the things in this world, they have failures. They have things that happen and that have catastrophic effects. And, you know, just because they have a time machine doesn't mean that they can fix everything, because there is a point in I think it's book 8 in book 8 where a character dies, but then they go back and save him, and another character dies, and they can't fix it because the Relic of Time is 2 trips per orbital cycle. And
okay, I vaguely remember that from like the very beginning. I think they talk about that.
And they can't go back and, you know, if you screw up the timeline, you can't necessarily go back and fix it. And there's an event where a far future character comes back and tells another character, you have to die tomorrow. And you cannot let them come back and save you, because if they do, we lose the war. And, and the thing is you have these things like there's the rules of oracles. Like if you know you're going to die, if you are told by the oracles or in some way that you are going to die at a specific point, you can't tell anyone else, because they can't take the risk that the timeline will be corrupted. Because literally the entire galaxy is resting in the balance of this war.
Yeah. So it's a tool that they can use to, try and fix things, but it's not a fix. What do you call it? Like a fix all. Like you can't just keep doing it, 97 times. And
yeah,
so
you can't. Yeah, you don't just keep going back and going back and going back. It's not like Groundhog Day. You don't get to just keep getting a do-over and do again. And yeah, Rachel, their mental health is an issue. There is a character later on who's one of the good guys, and he his arrogance gets him indwelled by a shadow without him realizing it. And he ends up killing his wife.
Wait, are you talking about in a future book or this book?
In one of the future books. The whole thing about their mental health is their issue. There are characters that get depressed. There are characters that have doubts. There's the strongest mage of his generation that you're going to meet. He has PTSD from his mother is one of Kali's daughters. And so you meet him in the series, and he is already, as a young teenager equivalent, he is already a broken, emotionally repressed person when you meet him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I put all of I break everybody. I break, yes. Send me your tears for my roses. I live in a desert. Yes, pretty much this, yeah. It's very much of that, you have this huge entity and his servants, and they get built up as being as about to break free and take over the universe, but the good guys find a way.
What was like the hardest scene for you to write, do you think?
Hello.
In either book or this book, whatever you want to talk about.
One question. This is my goddaughter. She's been listening to me talk about these books for years, for absolute years.
That's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. You could be here.
Yes, the engineer me and say like more. Yeah. And the engineer would also like the fact that I researched a lot of my technology, so it's theoretical plausible rather than
You'll
just
appreciate
fantasy.
That. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the tech that I use, and the interesting thing is, there's a discussion in one of the later books about how the Ethereans use enchantments to give durability to things.
Mm-hmm.
And the humans have the discussion of, yeah, that's a great thing, but think of how much waste it would create if things never wore out. I mean, it would be great to have your favorite t-shirt never wear out. I mean, if your favorite t-shirt could last longer than you, that would be awesome, but think of how much waste it would create, because it takes like 10 times the amount of magic to remove these enchantments as it does to put them in. So
yeah, it wouldn't be great for like commerce either, because then people wouldn't need to make new stuff, and it would be a job killer.
Yeah, well, and this actually in the Huntsman of Adamos series, this actually comes up as a discussion of why has their technology not advanced? Well, it hasn't advanced because why would they advance their technology when they can make their current technology last forever? They don't need to improve on anything because
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of have you ever seen oh my gosh, my kid calls it the Blue Guys. It's a oh man, what's it called? Onward. You ever seen Onward?
Mhm.
The cartoon? Okay, it's sort of like the opposite of that, where they're like, in the beginning there was magic and it was the coolest thing, and we could do this and this and this, but it was really hard to learn, and so someone invented a light bulb, and that was a lot easier than like poof making fire, and then they get lazy and they stop doing magic. But it's kind of like you're doing it sort of the opposite way, where it's like, well, why would we
Yeah.
go to the trouble of learning electricity when we can do magic, and it has, you know,
Yeah,
it can do so much more
why
if you
have
take the time to learn it.
yeah, why worry about making a more efficient technology to replace our outdated technology if the technology we have, we can make it last forever?
Yeah. And
You
it can
know,
do so much more. The limits are like a lot shorter.
so yeah. And I totally forgot what the question you asked before this was.
Oh yeah, sorry. We went off on a thing. What was in either book, the hardest scenes to write, either emotionally or just like it was technically difficult to, you know, sort it out or whatever.
One of the hardest scenes that I had to write, and this was actually a scene that I wrote like early in the book. When I was writing the series, I actually wrote this scene like 5 books before it happened. And that was when Karstien and Damien's father dies. And his wife it basically ends up okay. I'm gonna have to give a spoiler.
Okay.
So when Damien kills Caliph and cuts out his heart, time travelers come back and they save him. So he's not really dead.
So is that when they like put him on an altar or something, and then later they're like, we can see him, it seems like he's in a tomb or on a tomb or something, but they're like, but it's not clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When Odini tells him, I can see your father, he's in this thing, but it's not clear. Yeah. So he's right there, he's telling Karstien, your father's not really dead. And so that's why Karstien always had so much hope of finding his father.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a couple, there's 2 books before he reappears. But in like, as the books move forward, as you're moving through time, Karstien's father has this destiny of his own. And so he gets revived, but then the whole reason, and you find this out, the whole reason he's alive is because he is set to die at a specific point in time so that he can become what's called a celestial warrior, which is basically those who die in the light. They basically go to they call it the veil. We would call it heaven.
Right.
And so he has the potential to basically become what we would like call a guardian angel. But he has to die at a very specific time doing a very specific thing. And he knows that he will die before his next son is born. And there's this battle, and he makes the sacrifice to save someone else and dies. And his wife is there. And she like goes out onto the battlefield, and she's literally holding his hand while his body is cleaved in half. And then she has to fight the rest of the battle with his blood dried on her dress over her baby bump. That was the scene of her having to just hold up long enough to finish this battle with his blood on her.
Yeah.
And then the worst part is he knew that was the day. And while she was putting clothes away and stuff, she found this little box that had a ring in it from one of the worlds that was destroyed. And so she opens it up, and the ring says, "Beloved of Caliph for all time." And so their anniversary is coming. So she's like, "Oh, he got me a ring from our anniversary." And she puts it back and tucks it back in like she's hiding it.
Aww.
But she doesn't know that that ring is actually what's called a widow's token. And it's and she's in the hospital after the battle because she's completely exhausted her magic and everything. And she like wakes up and she doesn't know what this ring is yet. And she goes to their home. She like walks out of the hospital, goes to their home and gets this ring. And she has this ring now, and she's just exhausted, but she's bereft. And she's like wearing this ring, and she's just in their home, the home he built for her. And she's just crying and screaming in her grief. And I think that was the hardest scene, because then she asked one of the other characters, "What does this mean?" And they're like, it's a widow's token. And she's like, "He made this 3 years ago. He knew 3 years ago he was going to die, and he did not tell me." And that whole little frame of scenes right there at the end of Battle Lines is just, those were the hardest scenes to write, because I have this grand love story that I have been writing literally since the first chapter of the first book, when he appears to himself and says, "A greater love is awaiting you. Just hold on. Don't dishonor yourself." And so I get to write like 5-6 books of this grand love story. But I've known the whole time I was writing it that he is going to die, and he is going to lie to her about the date of his death. And she is just going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
So
that's killer.
That was the hardest thing to write. That was the absolute hardest thing to write. What are you doing? Hey. No. Go on. Sorry about that. She was choking on a piece of toilet paper.
Oh no! Don't eat that. Your goddaughter said, her telling me this in the car on my way to a college class was an experience, by the way.
Yes, yes, we were talking about all the scenes in the book.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, "Oh, why would you do that? Why would you do that?" I'm like, "Well, but yeah,
because
sadness.
It's good. It's
but
so
sadness
good.
and trauma, and yes, RC, he gets cleaved in half by one of Damien's creatures.
I love the idea of, sometimes shaking it up, and like Diane will be like, "I'm switching desks" or whatever, or going to a coffee shop. But like right after my uncle died, I was writing a sad scene. It wasn't as sad as what you're talking about, but it was like moderately sad. And I was in the coffee shop and I was kind of thinking about my uncle, and I was writing the scene, and I had like just classical, just not no words music on, and it was on shuffle, and it switched to the score from Lost. Like, I don't know if anybody's watched that, probably, but if you remember, but that score was really simple. It's very simple music, but it's really effective. And I'm just like, I don't know, like the barista offered me a free coffee. They probably thought I just gotten dumped or something. And I'm just like, all these elements are hitting me at the same time.
Yeah. Well,
so I'm like, maybe I shouldn't write sad things in coffee shops anymore, because people are really bad.
Well, one of the things that in Relic of Time and War Prophecies, both that goes to, and this carries through the whole series, is being immortal sucks. Being a mortal surrounded by mortals sucks. I mean, you see how bereft Karstien is when Koopa died, when he thinks like Koopa is dead, and he's thought she was dead for years. And then he finds out that no, she was injured in the fall of the Green Veil and scarred, and so she hid herself from him because she thought he only loved her for her beauty, and that he has a son, and now he has to now he's going to have longer with his son than he does with all the humans around him, but he still is this constantly grieving state of being stuck with everyone I care about dies and I don't die. And then you watch him go through this thing, and when his son dies, he's like, I'm just so tired. I'm so glad to go into a sleep sarcophagus and just be out of the world for some centuries because I'm done. And then you see Damien going through the same thing, and he's just trying to find a way to make love endure so he's not alone forever. And immortality sucks. I mean, when they have these things like, which superpower would you want? Yeah, don't pick immortality, because immortality is the one that sucks.
Yeah. It's another thing the engineer introduced me to, like the Highlanders. And I was kind of like, okay, you know, we're like dating, and I'm like, you know, you'll do whatever when you're dating. You're kind of like, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, I'm not going to care about this. And it was fine, but it was the movie we were watching, and then that Queen song like just kind of belts out in the middle, like of when his wife is getting a lot older.
Live forever.
Yeah, nobody wants to live forever, and I was just like, ah. And then I kind of realized, oh, this is why people are into this, because it's not that he can live forever and he's a badass. It's that it's also just really, really terrible that he has to live forever and watch everybody he loves die and stuff. And I was like, oh, I found what I like about this. And the engineer was like, oh yeah, I guess that's cool. But watch him; he's gonna cut this guy's head off. And so I'm like, there's something for everybody with immortality. We all have our own.
Well, I think that the most feeling thing for me at the end of it was that the prize for the Highlanders was you got to be mortal and have your own children.
Yeah,
that was the end all be all prize. And it's like, well, you know, when people ask me like, what is the comparable for this? I'm like, okay, so imagine the Time Machine meets Jurassic Park meets Highlander. Because basically that's what this is, you know, and they're just, I feel bad for Damien and Karstien and everything I put them through, and the other Etherians too. I do feel bad for what I put them through, but I wanted them to be like I wanted them to go through things that were relatable. Like, and we've all lost people that we've loved. We've all had things that we've gone through that were just, you know, a struggle. And it's like, you know, and my human characters and my semi-immortal characters, I like that you can see that they're having the same struggles despite being these incredibly different beings. You know, that the immortals are having the same struggles as the humans. You know, who is going to love me? Who am I going to spend the rest of my life with? I have loved and lost, and now I'm trying to move forward. I've succeeded, I have failed, you know, and it's the exact same struggle. It's just, it seems like the immortals go through it for much longer.
Yeah. Yeah, Rachel was saying the time travel is not generally her thing, but your excitement sounds like it's inspired her to kind of look into it. And it's funny, the engineer and I were talking about this once, because he's like, oh my gosh, if it has a Groundhog Day episode or, you know, scenario, or if it has time travel, you will watch it. And it's just like, you know, he's always like, it baffles me how you will always watch it if that's there. And then after we watched a few things together, he's like, okay, I get it now. It's not that you care about like the mechanics of time travel. You know, you don't really care how the flux capacitor works. You care that that it's a tool And I try to kind of explain that here, like it's an elevator in an office building, and they use it often to get to places, but the movie has nothing to do with the elevator. Like it's,
Yeah.
it's not about, it's not about the elevator. It's just they use it, and the elevator has rules, and you can't go from floor 10 to floor 2 immediately. You have to go to the other floors first. So there's like, there's rules to it, and it. Anyway, he was like, I understand now why you like it, because it opens up possibilities, but it also creates, even if they use the time travel and they fix one problem, now they have to fix the problems that came out of that solution. And
Yeah.
it's endlessly interesting to me.
And that's something that, like, the oracles will talk about. The oracles say, like, in the Huntsman of Adamos series prequel, the oracles will say, we're changing time and we haven't paid for the consequences yet. And that's it. And it's that it's one of the characters actually does try to change time. She tries to stop Damien from becoming shadow indwelled, and she doesn't realize that she's about a century too late, because Kali already planted that seed in him when he was a child, when he was a much younger child.
Yeah.
And she tries to save him. And it's just, but it's, and then one of the other characters points out, but if you save him, this, and this all change. And it's like, oh, yeah, that.
Oh, yeah.
But
I know that having Kali do that when he was, all right, so when they were like 70 or 80, when Damien spent all that time with Kali, so you're saying that would be like he was 8?
Yeah.
Because I kind of had in my head he was like 14. But okay, so he was like, so that's even stronger.
Yeah.
It's even younger. It's not just like an attraction. It's like, that is so formative. Like, how do you shake the thing that is so familiar and loving to you when you were 8? How do you not want that?
And when you're 8, when you're in that, like, he's like 8 or 9 years old in human terms, and he's starting into that preteen, that 9 to 12-year-old phase, where starting to I'm not a child anymore, but I'm not a teenager trying to figure out who I am, and nobody understands me, and
oh, bless you.
Oh, sorry. I'm having allergies. And to have Kali there and go, I believe in you and your magic. I can teach you real magic. Look, I had my uncle make this book for you that only you can see the magic in this book. And to everyone else, it's just a boring history book. And, and to have that influence, you can really, especially when, his brother is just good at everything. You can see where Damien starts down that rabbit hole into the shadows, and then, to have her constantly filling his head with, well, your mother doesn't have real magic, and people of the same people who are of the same magic family aren't born into the same biological family. And it really begins to feed into this thing that you're different from your family. You're special. And it really is like a bait and switch, and it just lures him away.
Yeah. It's really powerful.
Oh, you just turned sideways.
Oh, I did? Oh, sorry. Wait. Something's wrong with my hang on, let me switch it up. With my laptop, like, cam.
Oh no.
And I don't know when it happened. And so I have to go on my phone and something just hang on a second. No, don't restart. No. Sorry. Oh, all right. While I fix this, is there anything, speaking of childhoods, is there anything from, like, I know you mentioned that a lot of this came from after your stroke and kind of what you were experiencing then, but is there anything, like, from when you were a kid, or from your
I was a really big fan of, like, like science
Does that
fiction
work?
and fantasy, you're good.
I think. Okay, sorry about that.
From when I was very young. And so Anne McCaffrey, Madeline L'Engle, Ursula Le Guin, Stephen R. Donaldson, Ben Bova. I grew up with all of these great sci-fi writers and reading the big, like, fantasy series and the science fiction series. And I grew up reading all of these huge sci-fi and fantasy series. And I loved them. I loved them so much. And then in the 90s and the early 2000s, it's like all of that got swept away for for these YA dystopias. And it was really hard for me because I was like, I didn't enjoy them. I really didn't. And I missed these grand, science fiction and fantasy journeys where you had these characters who struggled with things, besides just, oh, I'm an immature teenager and it's my job to save the world because I'm special. It's like, I looked at these characters and I'm like,
special.
And I'm like, when I was your age, I was paying my parents' mortgage and buying groceries for my siblings. And if you had grown up in a dystopia world that you allegedly grew up in, you would be a lot more intelligent and capable than you are. And
you wouldn't be so first world whiny problems.
That exactly that. And it was just like, and I couldn't stand them. And it was like, and so when I started writing these, one of the things that I also did when I was recovering language was I went back and I read all of these sci-fi collections that I have. And I have a room for my books. I'm one of those people that has like 2 walls of a room that are just covered with bookshelves because I have that many books. And so I went back and I was reading all of these books and I was watching these series, and I was a huge gamer. I have been a gamer since the 90s. So, I love the grand game stories. I really, really liked the story of StarCraft. And I loved all of these huge epic stories. And so when I started expanding this series, I plotted out all the way to the end of the aftermath of the final battle, and them and the time travelers, after they won the war, having to go back and make sure that certain events happened the way they needed to happen, but without directly interfering with the timeline. And so I just decided, when we started working on it, I was like, we're going to write this huge grand thing. And it just kept, I put all of these element ideas that I'd been inspired from different games into it. And the nice thing about having the whole series written out is now that I'm going back and doing all the editing, I can go back and fill in my plot holes, and I can go back and fill in my character arcs, and I can go back and just weave all of this through until I get my tapestry exactly the way I want it.
That's awesome.
So, and okay, we are 20 seconds from our 90 minutes.
Oh, really?
Anything else do you want to talk about before we go?
Well,
so
that
there can be, everyone can have a break before Jules's noon stream.
Yeah. I guess. What in the upcoming books is the thing that you're either the storyline or the whatever that you're most excited about exploring? I know you said you've pretty much kind of written them, but
I think one of the messages that I am most excited for, and that you will start seeing in book 3, is the don't believe the media. And it's the kind of this conspiracy theory thread, but it's don't believe the media, don't believe the world presses, because what they are telling you and what the reality is are not always the same thing. And that is going to come up over and over and over again in the series, because Damien has learned to manipulate the press and the media and the public, and that's what he's going to do. And he's going to do it to the point that people will stay on a world that's about to be destroyed because they buy the media instead of looking at the facts.
Such a smart cookie. Smart, evil cookie.
He is very evil, and he is very savvy, and he looks like the good guy in a lot of different times. And over again, he rolls his press to turn himself from the bad guy to the good guy.
Addictive. Well, I really enjoyed getting into this, and I'm really glad that you had this Sunday, because it it's like the TBR. It's like, oh, there's so many things I want to read or whatever, and then you just fully intend to, and maybe you get to them, maybe you don't, but this kind of pushed me to get into it, and I'm really glad I did, because I fully enjoyed it. Enjoyed talking to you about it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. This was so much fun, and I'm so grateful that you volunteered to join me for this.
Sure, it was great. Thanks for having me. Thank you guys for coming. You had a nice little turnout for Sunday on Daylight Savings.
Oh yeah. So the Relic of Time Wars is on Kindle and KDP Print on Demand. Relic of Time and Prophecies is 99 cents this week to celebrate the launch of War of Prophecies, which is also now available. And before we go, for my Hold My Tea 2023 goals, here's the postie to publish War of Prophecies.
Ooh! Yay!
Yay!
That's awesome! She did it. How satisfying, huh?
It is so satisfying. And thank you, Liz, for being my co-host. I can't appreciate it enough. And thank you, everyone, for coming and joining us. Be blessed and have a very lovely day. I am going to roll our outro.